was begun by a scientist who discovered, quite by accident, these signals being sent. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered.
Look out for Charlie.
I want him down.
I try to stay pretty on target in my videos without going, too far out of the target of what I'm talking about. So that leaves a lot of stuff that doesn't get talked about. Random things. And that's what I want to get into, is some random stuff. First thing I want to tell people is, if you're making videos, start putting a watermark on the video when you're making it. And I say that because I've been seeing this on BitChute and even on YouTube. People are uploading videos, and most of these channels are re-uploads of other people's stuff. They're not even making it. So I find somebody that I want to follow, right? And there's no information about them, and the uploader doesn't give you any information about them, as though they're passive-aggressively trying to take credit for the video. So people should really start doing that. Most of these channels are just re-uploaded stuff, and that kind of works in a weaponized way, because you can't follow somebody or find it. It's very hard to just find a video, and they change the title of the video a lot of the times as well. So it's important for people to start putting a embedded mark or information on their video so we can find you. Now, I've talked about this in the past. A lot of people that are affected by weaponized radio frequency, weaponized RF, tend to get these marks on their cheeks. And it happens one of three ways. They either get these marks that almost look like bruises, they get very, very unnatural dark circles under their eyes, or they get what I call the Zartan. And if you look at this is a little kid, and he has the Zartan and the dark circles under his eyes. And I call it the Zartan because there was a character from G.I. Joe who has very similar markings, black markings under his eyes, and they look similar. And there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. Here is James Holmes during one of his first court appearances right after the incident, and you can see the marks on his cheeks. They look like bruises. They're that heavy, but I assure you they are not actual physical injuries. They are on both cheeks, on both sides. Here is Harlan Gerard, who has now passed away, and he was on Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory, the Brain Invaders episode, and you can see the marks on both his cheeks where they almost look like bruises, and the unnatural dark circles under his eyes. He was subjected to weaponized RF. And these are telltale signs, especially in males, and they get worse in older males. Here's John McAfee before he was suicided, and you can see the marks on both cheeks on each side. Here is Randy Weaver of Ruby Ridge fame or infamy, and you can see the Zartan under his eye clearly. It is the total Zartan mark. It's on both his eyes, and he has the marks showing up on his cheeks, but the Zartan is dark as hell, and there's a distinct line there. And the reason why I'm showing you these, it appears that one of the villains in our modern age isn't as important on the ladder as people think he is. And let me show you this. This is a very recent image of Bill Gates. And Bill Gates now has the marks on both cheeks. So it appears that he is not that important, and it appears that he is being hit with weaponized RF. As you can also see that here and here his sinuses are swelling, and that does not mean that he is going to be hearing 24/7 artificial tinnitus or audio weapons, but he is clearly developing the marks of weaponized RF on both sides of his cheek. If you look, you can tell that it looks like a bruise, and it is strange looking. It looks like somebody punched you on both sides of your face. Like I showed you, it shows up on James Holmes, it showed up on Harlan Gerard, it shows up on lots of people, and it is now showing up on Bill Gates. So it appears that Bill Gates did his job and is now covertly being hit with weaponized RF, like this photo of Harlan Gerard. And Bill Gates has the same exact thing. Pretty crazy. Wanted to show you that. Someone asked a question about vaping. They wanted to know if it actually did make things worse or not. And if you research vaping, it isn't quite a water vapor. It is very similar to steam. It's an aerosol mist. and it includes quote-unquote ultrafine particles that are breathed into the lungs. Ultrafine could be a semi-evasive term for nano or anything else. I would not trust the vape companies. I would not use their products. And personally, I would rather just smoke cigarettes than use vaping or vape products, period. I don't trust them. Anything that they promote as, quit smoking and use this, no thanks. In fact, pretty much anything that they say is bad, I usually think is good in one way or another, and vice versa. One chemical in a food that they might say is fine, when mixed with another chemical that is in another common food, could create something else entirely. And a lot of people don't realize that or know it. I just don't trust them. If they say it's good for you, I question that. If they say it's bad for you, I question that as well. There are many channels out there that are really, really pushing the mental health narrative. The idea that everybody has just been falling apart and you can just snap and people go crazy from not having to go to work or school. I mean, just really absurd ideas. And it's important that people stop supporting these people. Stop supporting them. Start calling them out on their own channels. And don't let these people get away with this, because it's just getting nuts. They are making people think that they are so flimsy and can snap. Like, you can just be sitting here 1 minute typing a comment in the YouTube, and the next you're like losing your mind and losing touch with reality and loading a gun or something. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts, and it's absurd. It's beyond absurd. It's schizophrenia. That is a disconnect of reality, and it needs to be corrected and called out when you see it. Most people are unaware of the effects that RF have on you. They can make you feel totally shitty and down all the time, and then pretty soon people are going out and searching out alcohol, drugs, opioids, whatever, to feel better, because they feel like shit all the time because of the RF around them all the time. It can create depression. It can create what they call manic depression or bipolar, and it is weaponized and it's used against you. Think about the case where the woman ran into the guy's girlfriend in the hallway of his apartment. His ex-girlfriend ran into this woman. She kills the other woman later, and then she begins stalking this guy with her phone. Right? And he finally goes to the police to report it, thinking that it's his girlfriend. And what ends up happening is the police dig into her past, and they go, oh, yeah, she had a bipolar diagnosis. She probably went off her medication and went crazy and started texting you. Well, what really happened was this crazy chick had killed her and taken her phone and started texting the guy with it to make him think that this chick was nuts. But they found that diagnosis and used it against her. Luckily, they figured it out later, but the possibility was there that once they found that diagnosis, that they had all the excuses in the world. Look at Elisa Lam. They go, oh, she was bipolar, so she would totally end up in a water tank later. It's just madness. It is madness, and if you buy into that crap, research this stuff, research the history of what they have done to validate this whole quote-unquote science, and you will find all the answers you need to know that it's bullshit. Ed Gein did not talk to his dead mother. They took the idea of Ed Gein and formed him into Norman Bates, and then started pumping the psychology, started pumping the psyop into the American public, that there were these people running around that had people talking to them in their melons, right? All the time, conversations. And then by the late 60s, it started happening to people. You had John Linley Frazier, who was just a mechanic and started hearing voices from God telling him that he had to turn into a radicalized environmentalist. It's always a political motive, political type motive that benefits these people, because they turn the hippies into a bunch of killers. All right. So then, Butch DeFeo, son of Sam David Berkowitz, all these cases, one after the other. And now it just happens left and right. People are normal one day, the next day, they've got people talking to them That doesn't happen. It didn't happen in the past. And even when people were schizophrenic in the past, hearing voices was one of the worst symptoms you could possibly have, and now it happens to new people every day that didn't have symptoms of mental illness before. It makes no sense. Don't buy it. I'm working on a documentary about that right now. And I just wanted to get some things out and talk about some random stuff, and that's it for now. Look out for Charlie. That's it for now. Look out for Charlie.
Oh, man. I like this kid. This fucking guy's crazy.
Look out for Charlie.
I want that son of a bitch dead. I want him dead.